What's up, guys? All right, today I am here with Vahan. Is that how I pronounce it? Vahan?
Yes, yes.
Yes. What's up, man?
I'm good, man. What about you?
Doing quite well. So, you were just introducing your kind of situation. If you could
Yes,
just get back into that, that'd be great.
yes. Before I get back there, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. It's very nice of you.
Oh, no worries, man. Free content for me, so it's motivating. And it
All
gets
right,
me up kind of early-ish, sort of.
great. All right, so like I was saying, I've been doing drop shipping for quite some time now, approximately 6 months. I started with Shopify, and I lost my account due to some legal issues and all that. But now I'm trying with eBay, and I've tried a couple of methods. I've tried with the sniping method, Mark's method. I tried with the optimization, and now I'm trying yours. So I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. You can ask anything.
So I purchased the Hydra Lister a couple of days ago, and I'm just having trouble using it. When you migrate all your what do you call it? All your items to Hydra Lister, you gotta change them one by one to the supplier. You get what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say?
yeah. You're talking about SkuGrid, not Hydra Lister. Hydra Lister just posts the items. SkuGrid is the database that does all of the repricing. And yeah, you do have to, when you import a list, you can get SkuGrid to make the list of eBay items, and then you just have to supply the supplier URL. But doing that manually can be pretty frustrating. I had to do that to 1,000 items once, and I was just like, bleh.
So you have to do that manually, basically.
There's always a way to make it faster, but as far as I know, yes. If you're good with spreadsheets and that kind of thing, then you can speed the process up a lot. There's ways to, if you have any access to the list of sources that you originally used to post the item, or any kind of list that already has the source URLs in it, then that can make it much faster, because then you can just match things up. But yeah, it takes a while.
Wow. So then what's the point of purchasing this if I have to change the URL of the supplier one by one?
Yeah, it like for me, all of the time that I've used SkuGrid, I've started the posting process with SkuGrid in the beginning, so it's all automated that way. But whenever you switch tools, there is some kind of sometimes it's worth just restarting, and other times it's worth trying to sync everything up.
Say for example, I have I don't know 2,000 items, right? And they all are from the same supplier. Say they're from Home Depot, Walmart, whatever. That way, is it possible to somehow put the default URL as Walmart?
What do you mean the default URL?
Because my main concern is let's say for example, let's say I have multiple items that I want to migrate to SkuGrid, right?
Yeah.
And then I have to change the supplier's URL to the actual supplier, because by default it's gonna put the URL of my listing, correct?
Yeah, well, when you import it, it'll say you'll then be able to you'll scan your store, basically your eBay store. SkuGrid will see that there's existing listings. Then it will make a database of those listings. Then you export that database as a CSV file, and you just have the one column that's the supplier URL column. That
Right.
one is it's set at some default value, and so you have to add the supplier URL to each one of those columns. And doing it in the spreadsheet's much faster than one by one in SkuGrid, but it still takes a bit of time.
Right, because when I migrated my items, it was all paused, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that
Typically you import your items, and then you add all the supplier URLs, and then you start the repricing.
right? I see, I see. Right. My next question is, I noticed almost under all of your videos in the description area, you put various links to various different softwares that you recommend us to use. Um, Could you please tell me which one of those softwares are like the most important, you know, that are essential to do bulk drop shipping?
Okay. Yeah. Let me go to one of my videos real quick. So I'm recording the screen and my background right here.
Yeah,
Just so I
because I
can.
don't want to spend a lot of money, you know, and
Yeah. Yeah, I feel
yeah.
you.
So if you could tell me like which ones are like absolutely necessary, you know, without it, it just can't be done, you know, that'd be great.
Yeah, the trouble with software now is that there's so much more. There's a lot more. There's a lot more available
Right.
than there used to be. Um, One second. I'm going to a video. Let's look at this one. Okay, show more. All right, so I'm just gonna list them real quick, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about them. So I have DSM Tool, JitBit macro recorder, Pricematik, Kabbage, Hydra Lister, SkuGrid, Infinii, address copier, fees delister, tracking automation from Update Duck, and tracking automation from Pigeon Tracker.
Them all? Use them all.
Yeah, I don't use Infinii and Pricematik at the moment. I believe that it's good to try each different software out and develop your own opinion, because there's a lot of bullshit. Like most of the opinions that people have about software is just something they heard someone else say, and ultimately comes down to somebody wanting to come off as knowing what they're talking about, but just replicating things. I'm getting on a tangent, but yeah. So you're talking specifically about bulk, right?
Yes, yes.
Honestly, Hydra and Sku, when it comes to bulk, are, as far as I understand, necessary. There are tools like when you're posting optimized listings, there's better options. Like DSM Tools, I consider one of the best options for optimization. It's not the most reliable tool, but it is the most, like, it's the cheapest to get into at the beginning. But as your store gets bigger, the cost of it scales up, just like most of the other listing software. Whereas Hydra Lister is the same price. There's also a program called Blacklister, and you can pair Blacklister with a repricer called Pricefox. But from what I was looking at, that was more expensive than Hydra Lister and SkuGrid. When it comes to bulk, just because of the scale that you want to operate, especially with the enterprise store coming out, it's Hydra Lister and SkuGrid are, as far as I understand, critical at the moment. If you want to post optimized listings, then very much not critical. You can do, Pricematik or any of the other options.
I know I asked this question before, but do you optimize your titles usually when you do bulk? Because I know you do bulk listing, but do you optimize as well?
No, I don't do any kind of title optimization.
So you just copy it with the link grabber and just put it in the software, whatever, Hydra or Sku, and it just posts them basically.
Yeah, that's what I started doing, except now the main difference is that I have a more intensive filtering process. So what I do is I build a really, really big list of items that's like 3 or 4 times bigger than the amount of items I actually want to post. And I use certain keywords to make that list of items. And then I have a list based on my experience with bulk and the sales that I've gotten and the issues that I've had. I have a list of negative keywords that I search through that list, and I eliminate anything associated with those negative keywords. The negative keywords could point to specific items that are glitched in Walmart's system that I know from previous experience, or they could be point to a whole category of items that is more likely to give you Vero or some kind of weapon violation.
So basically optimizing in a way.
Yeah, it is. You optimize it, but you don't optimize the individual items. You optimize the quality of the list. A good way to think about a bulk list is like, okay, if you have a bulk list of items and you post it, say you have 100,000 items, even if it's really shitty, you will produce sales. Obviously, if it's a really crappy list, then your insertion fees will overwhelm your sales. But you can't deny that you will produce sales in that list. So what the trick is how do you get rid of all of the items that won't produce sales? How do you know which those items are when you're working with a list of hundreds of thousands of items? And it all boils down to using keywords to pinpoint specific items in that list and eliminate them.
Well, I've seen you do something in one of your videos, and I think it's quite smart. Let's say you sell a salad dressing, you go and post more salad dressing.
Yeah.
Because you know that item is selling, so why not just post more, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the benefits of bulk is that while when you post in bulk and you do it properly, you're also getting a bunch of data and information. And so every month you can apply all of that data and information that you've gathered to make your business better. And it's also possible that you start as a bulk format store, but your end goal is actually to run an optimization store with a couple hundred listings. And what you do is you just start with that big list of items, and then you just eliminate everything that doesn't perform, and you keep doing that, and ultimately you end up with a smaller list of well-performing items. And you can guarantee that happens every time because of the sheer quantity that you start posting in the beginning. There's a whole lot you can do with bulk. There's not like one way to run it.
So Hydra and SKU really essential, basically.
Yeah, and for SKU Grid, I strongly encourage you to use the minimum amount of checks. So don't do like once every 2 hours or once every 6. Do once every 24 hours.
Besides that, I'm having a little bit of trouble with growing my selling limits now. If you give me just a quick minute, I can tell you exactly what my selling limits are, so you can know where I'm at.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second, please. So right now my selling limit is 10,500 and 110 items. It's not high.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, do you have any tips or any tricks on how to grow my?
Yeah, it's pretty. So first off, if you're in the U.S., it's easier to grow account limits than
Canada. Canada, U.S. is the same, no?
Your physical location doesn't matter. I'm talking about the market that you're selling into.
Right.
So if you're selling into eBay US, then it's easier to grow account limits. If you're selling into eBay UK, it's harder. Just basic my understanding. The best way to grow your account limits is to understand that your account needs to always be maxed. And as long as you're using most of your existing limits, and you sound confident when you call, then you're going to get accepted most of the time. A lot of it has to do with learning to be confident in that call and learning learning to be able to talk about the plans that you have for your store and showing that you've put work into it and you care about it. That really helps go a long way into getting limit increases. You also have to have like reasonably good feedback, but even if you get rejected, you can just do it again in 30 days. So you don't have to have all of your listings. Like say that your account limit's 100 something listings, right? You said 110.
Yes. 110.
So you don't have to have 100 listings. What you can do is just have 10 listings and set the default quantity of all of the listings to 9. So it's almost full. And make sure that whenever you call,
why do you want to do that? Why would I want to do that?
Because that every extra quantity in your listing is going to take up an extra part of your account limit. So
Right.
the idea is like, yeah, if you want to post more items, then lower the default quantity. But your store should always be operated at an account limit that looks almost full. So say that you have 10 items posted right now, your default quantity should be 10. But say that you post 10 more items, well, then your default quantity should be lowered to 5 so that you can post those items. And you want to operate at almost always have your store be at like 80% of your account limit. And the reason that you want to do that is twofold. One, you're going to be calling every 15 days, call and ask for a limit increase. Even if they tell you don't call back in 30 or call back in 60 or whatever, every 15 days, call and ask for a limit increase. And then also, by having your account almost maxed like that, you're going to be eligible for automatic limit increases as well. And these can be triggered once every 15 days, I believe. And if you have a higher feedback rate, then you're going to trigger more and more of them.
So wait, if I'm getting this right, it's possible to get more than one increase in a month, right?
Yes, but understand that typically it's 15 days between each limit increase. Like say that you get an automatic increase and you try and ask for a manual increase 5 days later, even if it was 15 days since your last manual increase, it still won't like work. You have to wait at least 15 days from the most recent increase that you got, whether it was automatic or manual.
I've called them before a couple of times, and I've noticed what they tend to ask a lot is they ask me what do you expect to get, you know, like how much do you want it to be raised to, you know, like I usually shy away and don't give off a big number, but
just always ask for double.
Double always. So like let's say I call them a couple of days later and they ask me how much do you want it to raise to, I should say maybe like 250.
Yeah, just say like 100% or double, or say the exact number. Yeah, actually, because they have a form in front of them and they have to put the exact number. So yeah, that'd be good. If it's 1,000, then ask for 2,000. The reality is that that has little. That's the part where you gotta sound confident. Or that's the part where you gotta sound confident, and they're kind of assessing your confidence a little bit.
And I was just looking at Hydra Lister, and I've noticed something. Is Hydra Lister only for Amazon?
No. What do you mean? You mean as a source?
I mean, yeah, because when I go to pricing, it's everywhere. It's written Amazon Lister, you know.
Yeah, so there's two forms of Hydra Lister. There's I want to say it's a $60 or a $70, $69.99 I think. That's the Amazon Lister. That's only Amazon. And then for $79.99, so $10 more I think, you get the
multi-supplier Lister.
Yeah, and that works with like Walmart, Home Depot, Amazon. It's like 100, 200 sources it works with.
Does it work with eBay?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, right. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's pretty much it. I want to ask you this last question. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna answer it, but I mean, how long can I expect to get like consistent sales? You know, I know it's a hard question to answer, but maybe you can base it off your experience. You know.
So I think if you're getting into dropshipping, I think that you should focus on getting dropshipping into your daily routine and focus on learning. I don't actually believe that it's good to burn yourself out or work like multi-hours a day at the beginning. You really should focus on what is going to integrate this into your routine in the long run in the future, because that is what's going to lead to success and income. You have to focus on gathering information and applying it, not focus on like the direct income. And if you do that for a solid year, where you do something dropshipping related every single day, even if it's only like 5 to 30 minutes, then you'll be at a point where you understand it well enough that you can get some regularity in sales, like some form of daily sales.
Right, I see. Right, so
So if there's a couple things that come to my mind if for anybody who's interested in bulk, particularly because of the enterprise store update that's happening on May 1st.
Yeah, about that, I don't even have a store, by the way. Should I get one?
Yeah, in order to do bulk, you really have to operate with either an anchor store or the upcoming enterprise store.
Enterprise it's $2,000, right?
$3,000. It's huge. Yeah, it's that when you have an enterprise store, you operate at least 100,000 listings, and so that typically costs $5,000.
They give you 100K listings.
Yeah, and also after that, every listing is 2 cents per listing instead of the current 5 cents. So that the enterprise update means that if you're operating around 100,000 items, it'll be $2,000 cheaper than it has been up until that update. So as far as bulk in the U.S. is concerned, it's definitely one of the biggest updates eBay has made.
How much can you post with an anchor store?
An anchor store, so it's not really about how much you can post. It's about every store subscription reduces the individual insertion fees for items. On eBay, it starts out as you have like 100 free insertions, and then after that, it's like, or maybe it's 10, and then after that, you pay 30 cents a listing. As you get better stores, that cost gets lowered from 30 cents to 20 cents to 10 cents to 5 cents, and then to 3 cents, and then to 2 cents.
So really, there's no technicalities here. It's just a question of staying consistent, right? Like just purchasing the anchor store and getting the Hydra Lister, the screw grid, the software, knowing how to use them, and basically just list items and.
Yeah, I think that the best way to do bulk is there's some concepts that work really well in optimization that you kind of have to abandon a little bit with bulk. And one thing that is really important is that you establish a lifespan for your listings, because insertion,
what do you mean by that?
You have to determine if your listing is going to be kept up for 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. And do not keep it up for more than 90 days.
Why not?
When say that that item's selling a lot, then okay, yeah, obviously you can keep it up. But the vast majority of your items are not going to sell. Like especially with bulk, like with optimization, that's usually true, but with bulk, that's really, really true. So it's really important that you learn to minimize any time where a listing becomes less likely to produce a sale because you're paying insertion fees for everything. So if a listing gets stagnant, it stops getting viewership. eBay will stop showing it to people. It's not going to sell. It's much less likely to sell. So with bulk, it's so easy to post tens of thousands of items, and then you have a store number in your head, right? And then you're like, oh, I want to get 50,000 items. Then you just keep posting more items, and those new items that you're posting will produce sales. But the thing is, after they get old, they need to be renewed or deleted. And as you don't do that to more and more listings, your insertion fee bill will become heavier and heavier, and it's going to be more likely that it overwhelms the profit.
I have a question about insertion fees. Let's say an item doesn't sell after the 30 days, the 60 days, or the 90 days, or whatever. You have to pay the insertion fees. Is that
Yeah.
it?
You have to pay insertion fees regardless of sales. They're not like final value fees.
Oh, I thought it was only regarding the if you sell, then you pay it again.
No, that bulk would be way cheaper then. But that's why bulk is expensive, is because you have to pay for every single listing.
So this is where the pruning comes, basically. You want to make sure you end the items that doesn't sell, right?
Yeah, yeah. So like every month you're gonna be learning more about the situations that came up because of the list of items that you posted. So one, you need to keep the original list of items that you posted. You need to keep that, and as things happen, remove the problem items from that list, and then also identify new URLs to be added to that list. And then you always want to maintain that database of having your own list of items, and then after each period of 60 days, or 90 is probably best. I would go with 60. 30 is good to really understand how things are working. But after each period, then you just reiterate the list. So you just go into Hydra and you repost the list. And once you've made the list, and you have to actively maintain it, but it's not like optimization where you have to. The most time-consuming part of optimization is posting your items. The most time-consuming part of bulk is placing orders and customer service.
Do you use DSG?
I don't. I know a lot about it though, because I lived with the guys who made it for a while. And I personally don't do sniping, but it's definitely like when it comes to the different forms or the different strategies, they're all possible to do very profitably. It's not a matter of like which one is best. It's a matter of like based on your interests and how much time you have and what ambition and drive you have. That all determines what tool is best for you. There's no one like best approach for everybody.
Do you do mentoring?
No, I don't. And
yeah, I don't have a course or anything like that.
I have a course. It's a $20 course on Udemy, and if you can get it through if there's a link in any of my YouTube videos. What's nice, if you use the link from YouTube, then I get 97% of that $20, so I get like $19 something. Whereas if you buy the course on Udemy normally, then I get like $4.
Right. And what do you talk about in that course?
In the course, the idea is that it's not supposed to be like a step-by-step guide on how to get started dropshipping. It's supposed to be a resource that as I learn more, then I kind of practice the concepts and explore them in my YouTube channel, and then I make more specific, detailed videos about the concepts in the course. So the information in the course is a little bit delayed, so there's sometimes more information on my YouTube channel, but the information in the course is more specific and more streamlined, and it's easier to follow than trying to figure out which one of 700 videos suits your needs.
So now for me, how do you suggest that I should proceed? Like, how should I go on? I should just go on with just purchase Hydra Listers, Q-Grid, get an anchor store, and just.
Well, you can't. There's no point in getting the anchor store until you can post at least like 4,000 or 5,000 listings.
4,000 or 5,000? Okay, right.
Yeah, because prior to that, like the anchor store is going to cost $350. So you want to make sure that you're ready for that. So it would be best to do some other form before you get into bulk. Because you can only post 100 items, it would be harder to get bulk results out of that unless you're using bulk to post 100 items and then you're waiting like a week and then you're trimming everything and optimizing based on the results that you got. You need to focus on growing your account before you can really do the bulk stuff. But once you get into bulk, the way to start it is to get an anchor store and then to commit to figuring out how to be profitable at 10,000 listings. Because if you can do that, then you can scale it up, and then you can consider doing the enterprise store. But for a bulk store with an anchor store, 10,000 listings, that's going to cost you $350. So
you don't suggest I start bulking now?
No, I mean you can, but not bulk exclusively. Like when you can only post 100 items, you're probably not gonna get too many sales from that, if any sales at all. unless you get lucky and you post the right items. But what you could do is, if you have the patience for it, then you do a bulk post of 100 items, and then you just watch those items for a couple days. And based on the results of those items, based on any questions that you get, based on the watcher level of the items, then you pick which items you want to optimize, and optimize the titles based on the performing listings, and then maybe get rid of the listings that aren't performing and replace them with the new ones. There's ways to use bulk in your current situation, but it should not be the one thing that you do. You could just use bulk to get the limit increases. That's definitely doable.
What should I do besides bulking? I mean,
it like I said, it depends on what you're trying to go with. There's you can post.
What do you mean? Where I'm trying to go,
like if you want to incorporate more of like a sniping direction, where you do more product research and then pick some items and then optimize the titles and post those, or if you want to do some kind of just regular optimization.
I just want to create like a stream of income, like an automated stream of income as soon as possible. I know everybody wants that, but that's what I want.
Yeah, you got to be really careful with that as soon as possible part.
Right.
Like it takes time, and ultimately, if expectations lead to failure, they lead to giving up. You have to understand exactly what you want out of this in the long run, and know that it is worth integrating into your lifestyle. And then, it can completely change your life. But if you're not open-minded about it, and you focus too much on money at the beginning, then you're more likely to just get frustrated or feel like nothing's going anywhere, because it's one of those things that you really have to work at for a while to understand. E-commerce in general, like, okay, say that you have a store and it's performing averagely. One day could be $1,000 in sales. The next day could be $200 in sales. The next day, $600 in sales. That is a regular occurrence. And whenever you have these intense fluctuations, people always confuse those, and they think that their actions lead to those fluctuations, which is true, but only sometimes. And as a beginner, it's really, really important that you are able to take a step back and assess things on a weekly or monthly basis, not on a daily basis.
So you're trying to say luck is involved a little bit?
Yeah, luck is definitely involved with posting items, and especially with bulk as well, because when people start, they often think, okay, I got to find the right item. But that's not the whole picture. The whole picture is having the right item in the right place at the right time. What you'll find on eBay is that you can post the same list of items in different periods and get different results. Like, say that you have, I used to sell Game Boys, and I would sell different color Game Boys. So I had green Game Boy, gray Game Boy, black Game Boy. 1 month I posted them as good till canceled listings with high quantities. And the gray Game Boy got the most attention. It got like 4 times as much attention as the other Game Boys. So I was like, oh, there's more demand for gray Game Boys. And then another month or two passed, and then I remake the listings and redo them. And this time, the black Game Boy gets the most views, like 3 or 4 times as many views as the gray and the green Game Boys, which was like, oh, what, the black one's in more demand now? And what I learned is that you can post the same items with the same descriptions, same variables, and you will get different results. So say that you earn a certain amount of money off of posting 1,000 listings. It isn't accurate to think that if you post 2,000 listings, you're going to earn that amount of money times 2. It's really important to understand that. When you're posting listings, a lot of the times you're getting lucky on a specific item. And just because you had to post 10 items to get that one item does not mean that you will get that occurrence again if you post 10 more items. It really isn't that simple.
But I mean, the more items you have, the more chance you have to sell something, no?
Yes, that's true. But at the same time, a bulk store with 100,000 items will sell as many items as some optimized stores with a couple hundred items.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it's really important to understand that, like, a lot of people with bulk, they get hung up on the listing number. Like people will scoff at being like, oh, 100,000 listings and not producing, you know, tons and tons and tons of sales, because to their heads they're used to optimization and they think like 100,000 listings is so much work, like it has to be worth it. You have to be able to produce sales from that, right? But with bulk, they're thinking about time spent, and really time spent is really low for a bulk store, which is the irony behind it.
And does the sell-through rate matter? Because a lot of people say different things. Some people say it matters. Some people say it doesn't matter. What do you think?
Okay.
Do you think
Sell-through rate is a metric that you can use to evaluate your store. That's it. It is not a magical number. As when it comes to growing my eBay account, I can post 2.7 million items on the account now. I've gotten a lot of increases. I've talked to eBay, requested those. Not once has the sell-through rate of my bulk account ever come up in conversation with an eBay chat or an eBay rep about when I'm requesting limit increases. Not a single time. I've always been completely upfront about what I'm doing, how I'm using software to bulk post items. I've talked about multi-quantity sales and my insertion fees. I'm completely transparent with eBay when I talk to them, and there has not been a single time where sell-through rate has been an issue.
Okay, man, that's about it. I appreciate your time.
No worries, man. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, so when you actually have the account to start it, make sure that you don't go past 10,000 listings. That's really important.
Could you please repeat that again? I didn't get that.
Once you get a big enough account, and this is just for you and anybody listening who's interested in bulk, once you get a big enough account to do bulk, and that means that you need to post like between like 4 and 10,000 listings. You can experiment with less than 10,000, but 10,000 where you can operate at a small scale. Do not go past 10,000 listings until you are confident. It is very easy for you to overwhelm yourself with fees, especially with the enterprise store and numbers like 100,000 listings. You have to become comfortable enough to handle that. If you jump into it, you can get into a lot of debt because the mistakes are just on such a grander scale.
Right, so we should, like, you're basically trying to say we should have a stream of income, you know, before passing that 10K mark in listings. So
yeah,
and if
that's definitely good.
If something goes bad, we can still pay the eBay bill, basically.
Yeah, and you want to be able to experiment and learn on the 10K level instead of on the 100K level, because all of your mistakes are going to be tenfold. Like, say that you're not good at eliminating a problematic kind of listing. With a 10K list, that's not that bad. You know, you're going to have to deal with it enough times that you're going to remember next time. But then with a 100K list, you have 10 times roughly that many problems. So
how long have you been doing the bulk?
I started in January of 2017, so like 14 months.
Almost a year, like a year, a little bit more.
Yeah, but yeah, like 15 months.
Right, 15 months. And how long did it take you to get like 1K a month?
About a year. There were times where that happened, but keep in mind, like, when I started, I was just searching for items on Walmart and just rawly posting the search results. I wasn't doing any filtering. There was so much I didn't know, and I understood that I had to take a year because there wasn't really a course that I could take or information I could find about bulk. So I had to expose myself to the data and then work with it and improve it. So I knew that it was going to take me a while. But because I've learned a lot from that, and it's all public information on YouTube and, you know, in the course as well, for people who have access to that information, it can be done sooner. Really, it boils down to your account size.
And how were your results when you were doing like that, just posting randomly? It wasn't that good, huh?
No, like it fluctuated a lot. The mistake I made is that I didn't have an end date on my listing. So I kept trying to focus on, I was like, oh, I want to hit 100,000 listings. So I'd post like 10, 20,000 listings, and then I'd post like 20, 30,000 more a couple months later, and then I kept adding to it like that. And you really don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're getting rid of listings as soon as they're 90 days old. Don't hope that they're going to sell. Relist them if you really want to, but it's really important that you at least take them down, you end them, and then you restart them, because that's going to kind of restart their life cycle.
And I know you touched on the subject earlier in the video, but could you please say again, what do you mean when you say filtering?
Filtering is when you have a list of keywords, and those keywords are associated with problematic items, or items that produce questions that need answering.
What do you mean? What do you mean questions? Are you like poor sales, basically?
Yeah, like with bulk, you have to think about time spent, because you operate on a big scale. So say that you have a series of items that are producing lots of questions. For example, say that you're posting mattresses and pillows, and these items in the listings all show available in king, queen, medium, small, large, multiple sizes, right? So people obviously are like, well, what size is it? Stuff like that is going to cause work for you. Whereas with bulk, you could just not post. Yes, exactly. You want to avoid them.
Yes.
So that's how you avoid them by originally, when you have a bulk posting, you make a raw list, which is a big list, much bigger than what you want. Say you want 1,000 items or 100 items. You need to make a list of 300 or 400 items. So make a list that's 3 or 4 times as big as your end result. And then you're going to go through that list using a tool like Sublime Text. What Sublime Text does is allows you to search for every occurrence of one keyword in a list, and then work with all of the occurrences at once. So say that you have a list of 150,000 URLs, and I don't like the word fox. I want to find every link in that list that contains the word fox. All I have to do is control F to search for fox, and then Sublime Text will highlight hundreds of occurrences, and then I just select the line it contains on and delete it. And so it takes the same amount of time to delete 100 lines as it does to delete 10,000 lines. It's one fluid action.
So basically, if I understand this correctly, when you're talking about filtering, you're basically talking about words that are causing the customers to ask many questions, complaints, or whatever, or basically listings that are producing poor sales or no sales at all. So and basically that, right? And
yep.
And I'm sure they all have something in common. For example, the keywords, and we want to find what are those keywords, and we want to eliminate them, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And future listings, basically.
Yep. And you can have a positive and a negative version of that. So we've just talked about the negative one, where you have keywords associated with problems, but you can also do the opposite thing, where you have keywords associated with
sales or good reviews, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I do, is I have the raw list, which is really big, and then I use the negative filter to eliminate any potential problematic items, and then I use the positive filter to pull the items associated with sales out of that list.
So, I mean, this is very important, basically, what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's all about your, like, with optimization, you can spend a lot of time and not earn much money, but you're probably not going to lose money. Whereas with bulk, if you do it wrong and you're impatient, you can lose money. You can lose a lot of money. Whereas if you do it right, you can earn money without having spent much time, because most of the time spent is processing orders.
What do you mean? How will you lose money? If you don't prune, you're going to lose money. But besides that,
yeah.
how can you lose money?
Like say that you're impatient and you want to post 10,000 items. We're going to keep it low, like 10,000. And instead of taking the time to put a lot of variety in your list, you just go to Walmart and you search for something like tire, because you like tires, and you saw that the list of tires is 100,000 items or 10,000 items, so you could just post all of them.
Just post items, basically.
Yeah,
It's tires, yeah.
if you just post items like that, if you rush and you scale too quickly, you can lose money. It's just, the thing is with bulk, because you can post so many items at once, it's easier to lose money if you're impatient. Whereas with optimization, because of the sheer amount of time it takes to post listings, it's very unlikely that you're going to get to the point where your insertion fees are so high you're losing money, because your sales are going to, you're going to be paying your final value fees on your sales, and that's where most of your payments will go.
Right. Correct. That's true. All right. Well, yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Wicked.
All right. Thank you very much, man.
No worries, man. It was good to talk to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a great one. Ciao.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.